So I'm just going to mention anxiety. Does anyone want to tell us what they think anxiety means? Everyone's right. Whatever you think is right. No? Cool. All right, sweet. So, anxiety. So let's say you're in the car, you're driving to work, and you're thinking about being late for work. And you're thinking about one of your tyres being a little bit flat, and you're thinking about you want to check your phone to check your messages on WhatsApp and Facebook and on Messenger. And you're thinking about the argument with your partner, and you're thinking about that you need to call your dad because you're going to call him last week. And you're thinking, oh, there's a helicopter, that's pretty cool. I wonder what kind it is. And you're thinking, oh, this road's a bit bumpy, and you're thinking, am I going to make this traffic light? Right? Maybe you're not thinking about the road. Maybe you're actually thinking about watching Game of Thrones when you get home. And maybe you're also thinking about that girl at work that you really like. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. So all of your cognitive function is thinking about all of those different things. You've gone in every direction out of that car. You're not in that car at all, right? Well, your body's in the car, but you are like in multiple dimensions of time and space at once. A definition of anxiety that I've been playing around with is, let's say you're sitting in that car thinking about, Game of Thrones and the girl at work and all this stuff, but you're feeling really uncomfortable, right? A definition I'm playing around with is anxiety is a defensive mechanism in your nervous system to tell you when you need to be present. Usually we're anxious when we're actually we're spreading our cognitive function over so many areas that we're not actually completely in any of them. We're not actually fully thinking about Game of Thrones. We're not fully thinking about the girl at work. We're not fully thinking about driving. We're not fully thinking about that tyre. We're not fully thinking about the argument because we can't. We can't really think about all the variables there. And the anxiety is a defensive mechanism telling us you're driving a car. And if a cow jumps out in front of the car, your cognitive function is so spread out through the universe that you're not actually going to maybe be able to deal with it. So I think anxiety is a discomfort in our nervous system going, be present. You are thinking about too much stuff. And that's one of the incredible things about anxiety is people I don't even know why I'm anxious. I'm not sure what's causing it. But you're just kind of you're trying to take in so much stuff. So there's no one thing. The kind of cause of the anxiety is more the fact that it's so many things and that you need to start really simplifying your lifestyle. So that's my take on anxiety. So when you get deep into a lot of these sorts of issues, we have this thing we call self-victimisation. And when we complain about things and complain about dramas and all that sort of thing, we're telling our body that we are the victim of these negative events outside the body. Okay? So, if a cat climbs in your car and pees on your car seat and, we're kind of like, that damn cat, I have to do something about it. But you left your car window open. So straight away, you are blaming something in the outer world on something that you could be responsible for. All right, so much of this sort of victimization is basically telling us that we're not responsible. Everything just happens to us as opposed to us happening to things. It's all kind of transactional, And the reality is, it's almost like some crazy secret. We're completely the master of all these things. And as negative things happen and we just kind of just deal with it and let it go and forgive ourselves and forgive people, that's not easy. You can say it like that, but it's not easy. But when you're in that kind of reality of compassion and forgiveness, you can just kind of move through things. And the more we kind of learn how to visualize what we want and how to pray about what we want and how we can change our health by thinking about the kind of health we want, literally by telling our body that we're just safe, and by giving love and light freely to people as opposed to trying to take it through all sorts of games that we're taught to do, we can actually become completely in control. So be very mindful of people who complain as a choice of how they constantly live, because they're going to try and pull you into that game of let's all complain together, and as a team we're going to self-victimize ourselves and tell ourselves that the universe is nasty and a threat and that everyone's out to get us. We live in a very safe country relatively. Things are really, really, really chilled out here. Pretty much. Totally awesome. Hello.
But what if you don't know what you want?
Doesn't matter. That's cool. Like, I mean, so much of the time, that your true nature can be discovered through purposelessness, right? Purposelessness is like getting into a reality where you don't feel like you have to do anything and you don't want anything, and you just become more an open vessel. A good kind of state of mind to be in perhaps could be I met this guy in China once, and he said, I just live in a permanent state of inquiry. He's like, I don't know what I want. I'm just interested in stuff, and just interesting things would happen to him. But I think sometimes finding out what we want in life can be established by creating space. And the best way to create space is to find somewhere that's really affordable to live, and save up some money and go there and just don't do anything. Just don't do anything. And that's going to be a bit hard for a few months because we're taught to feel guilty when we don't do anything. And then after a few months, you're not going to feel guilty about not doing anything. And then things are going to start getting really cool. And that's when your true nature is actually just going to come out of you. Because all of the social programming around you needing to get stuff done, especially as we evolve through family life and school life and work life about, your to-do lists and all that sort of thing. When all that's actually gone out of your consciousness, your true nature will start to arise like hiccups. You're not going to choose when it's going to happen. You don't choose when to have a hiccup. It just comes. It's just going to come, So again, we don't need to feel guilty about when that's going to happen or to put pressure on yourself when it's going to happen. Right? And once you remove all the emotions about wanting something to happen at a particular time, then you can approach that whole nature of living with the energy of the universe, of that being in a song or in a dance. It's actually right now. It's not like one day I'm going to feel like I know what I want. That's that kind of goal-orientated approach. Go, right now, I don't know what I want. It's awesome. It's great. And I'm not doing anything. It's awesome because I don't feel guilty about it. But you need to be mindful of people projecting guilt onto you. You get like workaholics, and they see people just chilling at the beach for weeks, and they're just like, how can those people chill out? Like they need to be doing something or contributing or something like that. So be very mindful of others' projection, especially when someone wants you to feel shame, fear, guilt or anxiety about you not doing something to make them more comfortable. And that's called psychiatric heresy. Heresy, like, if someone's a heretic, they're not, say, playing ball in their religion, so we're going to, burn them or, exile them. Psychiatric, that means your consciousness. So psychiatric heresy means that the person over there feels uncomfortable that your psychology or your psyche is not playing ball with the mainstream, and they're going to project negativity onto you because they feel uncomfortable about the fact that you experience consciousness in a different way. And once you can see their conditioning and see that game, you can be like, that's cool, do your thing, I love you, it's all good. Yeah, so, yeah, it's amazing. Okay. Yeah, I guess that brings me to my next point. So creating healthy boundaries. Be mindful of what people around you are hoping you might do to make them feel more comfortable. So a really good example that I use is just counter guilt tripping each other. All right, so our bodies are made of light. We're light beings. Your DNA stores light. You put DNA in a test tube of salt water. Salt water usually makes things pop. Like when you're making kimchi, it goes all soggy. So you put some DNA in a test tube, and through osmosis, it makes the DNA explode. This is a shame. But the DNA is written into light, so it's not lost, so it's okay. But put it in the test tube, but it's in the dark. And then you put some little light sensors in there. Again, this is Russian, so it's kind of like... so you put some light sensors, and the DNA pops, and the light sensors pick up light. All right. So when the DNA explodes, it explodes light. It's a little firework. So the healthier we are, the more light our DNA stores. So when you're eating like living foods, when you eat living foods, basically you're creating vortexes in your body where you're pulling in photons of light from the universe, which makes us feel nice. And there's ways of transferring light to each other. There's a whole non-local element to light. Okay, so if I'm going to give someone a compliment and give them love and intention, whether they're in this room or whether they're in this room last year or whether they're on the other side of the planet, I can open up a warm hole where I'm actually sending light to that person's DNA through getting their consent's kind of good, but you can give people light and love, okay? Most people are on a positive lifestyle. They're just going to accept light that's going to come to them, all right? Someone who's in a lot of negativity and you go, hey, do you want a gift of love and light? They're going to be like, "Goo," you know? It's not going to be, so easy. Those are consent thing. There's no right or wrong. People who are in negativity are great, and people who aren't are great. It's all good. So, light. So, you go home from work and your girlfriend hasn't cooked dinner, or your boyfriend, and you're like, oh, I'm really hungry. I wish you'd cooked. And they're like, I'm sick. I'm not cooking. I'm not hungry. And you're like, well, I'm hungry. All right? So, for one, you're kind of going, maybe you're not actually hungry either. Maybe they're not hungry. Maybe you've actually both secretly just eaten, right? But you're like, oh, I wish you cooked. You haven't cooked for a week. And they're like, you're always at work. I hate it. So there's two things. You tried to guilt trip that person. Straight away, they counter guilt tripped. All right, so when you guilt trip someone, you're hoping they're going to feel guilty, right? So, all right, why haven't you cooked? Look, I'm sorry. I'll cook, I'm sorry. I feel really bad. You'd be like, yeah, damn right. Okay? In that moment, you felt good. Yeah, damn right. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. What just happened? You had an exchange of energy. Okay? That means that through the consent of you going, hey, feel guilty, they're like, okay, I'll feel guilty. You've just gone and sucked up some light. Okay? Now, the light frequency is flavored, let's say, with the frequency of guilt. That means you're training your body through your conditioning to absorb guilt-flavored light from people. Great flavor. So, you've just sucked it up. But let's say they said no and said, no, stuff you. You've been at work all the time. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I feel really bad. I've been working too much. Right? So, you lost, and then they kind of guilt tripped you, and then they get sucked light out of you. And this just goes around and around and around. This goes around and around. And so it's this thing that's going on, and there's like whole different realms of this. That's just one. Guilt, it could be anger, it could be whatever. Any of these kinds of emotions. Well, you're just telling your body that a good way to get energy to feel good is to, hassle someone and make them feel bad. Right? So what does it mean when we draw light out of other people to feel good? It's called black magic. That's what black magic is. And its most basic form is drawing light out of someone without their consent by tricking them into getting energy off them. It's not very cool. The other whole option is giving love and light freely with consent. It's amazing, and then you're not messing around with anyone. It's a really great way to live. Both are good though, both make you feel good. Just do whatever you want. Stress and cellular health. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna draw another little diagram. This is going to work. Maybe we'll take a little break and we'll draw another diagram. Do you want to do that? Do you want to go to the toilet? Should we do that? Yeah? Sweet.